Hello guys, welcome back to my second episode of Cooking with the Winklers. This time I'll be making a Brie bread bowl. It's really simple, it looks super fancy, and it's very filling. I started off here with I think it's called mountain bread. I got it from the Publix bakery section, but I took a serrated knife and I cut off the top of the bread because we will be inserting the Brie to the bottom. To make sure you get an accurate measure, take the lid off of your Brie container, press it into the bread so you get a nice little circle, and you're going to cut that circle out. After that, you're going to rip out the bread that's in there so you can make space for your cheese. And then we're not going to waste this bread, of course not. We're going to rip it into smaller pieces so we can use that for dippers for our cheese. And you're going to do the same thing to the top. Just rip out the bread from the top, cut it into, or rip it into smaller pieces so that you can dip it into your cheese. Next, we're going to get the cheese ready. So you're going to take it out of the packaging. Once you take it out of like the plastic, it's going to look like it's in another set of packaging, but that's just the rind. And what we're going to do is cut most of or all of the top rind off, as much as you can get off. It can be a little tricky, just be patient with it because you don't want to take out too much of your actual cheese. And you guys know I don't like food waste, so we're not going to toss the rind because it is edible. What we're going to do instead is chop it up into fine pieces. So keep chopping until you can get super fine. The next thing we're going to do is get our seasoning ready for our bread bowl. So in this container, I have about 6 to 7 medium pieces of garlic that I minced up. I added a heaping tablespoon of butter as well as equal parts olive oil. You'll see in a second here, I do add a little bit more olive oil because I just want a little bit more of the mixture to go around. But I incorporate that nice and well before I season my mixture. So to this, I added a black pepper, Italian seasoning, basil, and some garlic powder as well. I didn't add any salt because we have salty butter and salty cheese, so we're not going to salt the butter that we're going to use to season our bread. Once that is nice and incorporated, we're going to prepare our bread to be seasoned. So what I did was grab my serrated knife again, and I'm going to make about 1-inch slits going around the whole entire bread bowl, because these we're going to use to pull off of the bread once it's baked and use as additional bread dippers for our cheese. Once you have all your slits ready, you're going to take your little brush and you're going to brush the entirety of the bowl. So the bottom of the bowl, the walls of the slits, or whatever you want to call them, pull aparts, in between them, the top of them, and then whatever you have left over, use for the top of your bread bowl as well. So once we have that all brushed on, what we're going to do next is use those chopped up Brie rinds to sprinkle to the bottom of your bread bowl. You can just do an even layer, it doesn't really matter how you sprinkle it. And then what we're going to do on top of that is add some sweetness. So Brie goes really well with sweet. So in the past I've used homemade cranberry sauce, blueberry jam, whatever you really have that's nice and sweet. You can use orange marmalade even, but this time I used boysenberry jelly or jam or preserves or whatever it was. But you're going to spread it nice and evenly. Then you're going to stick your Brie cheese in the middle, and whatever space you see is left over, so from all the cutting, we're going to stuff with mozzarella cheese. Sprinkle some on top, make sure the Brie cheese is nice and cozy, and then it's ready to go in the oven. So stick everything on a baking sheet, so your bread that you ripped up and as well as the bread bowl, you're going to bake it at 425. And then after about 6 minutes, take out those bread chunks because you don't want them to get burnt, but leave the whole entire thing in the oven for about 12 minutes, and you can take the top off, check if the cheese is melted enough. If not, stick it back in for a little bit longer. So for plating here, I have some grapes, some apples that I cut up, as well as a peach, just because we had it in the house. You can play around with what you use to dip, but having apples and grapes is definitely my favorite thing. Here are those bread chunks that we baked off in the oven. So we're just going to make it look as cute as you want it to. It doesn't have to be fancy or anything like that, but just spreading it out so that everybody can have equal access to all the dippers is really nice. But this is what it looks like when it's done, nice and melty and delicious. I usually serve this with a cheesy pasta with a protein in it, so this time I did shrimp alfredo, I guess you can say. I've done it with chicken before as well. But once you have it all cooked, look at how gooey that cheese is. It looks so good, making me hungry again. But yeah, just use what you got, dip it in there, and enjoy. This is really simple to make. The most time consuming thing is probably cutting up the apples, to be honest with you. But as you can see, it's a free for all for everyone to go ahead and enjoy. Even Mariah got a couple of things here, you'll see in a second. And don't forget to eat the bottom, because that's where your jelly is, and that's like literally where it tastes the best. That whole chunk went to Justin. But yeah, go ahead and enjoy. Let me know if you guys try this recipe out. Like I said, it's super easy, fairly inexpensive, and it's a nice little family shareable meal. Let me know if you guys like this recipe. Let me know if you test it out, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.